Welcome to Lawishhh, the channel where we dive into this legal complexity and go into it. But this special episode, diving into a very controversial decision which goes into this halls of justice, New South Wales. It challenged the criminal justice, criminals, sort of the case law, but let's get into it. So if you're captivated by this law, how it reflects your social values over time, you're in the right place. So don't forget, obviously, to like, share, subscribe, join our community of legal enthusiasts. I always get comments on this and I always try to produce videos on what you guys want. So definitely drop it and I love reading it. But in this case, it sort of challenges conventions on decision that sparked heated debate in the New South Wales Court of Criminal Appeal, where it recently confronted a case involving a 70-year-old former teacher, Helga Lamb, which was charged with sexually abusing male students in 1970. So this case forces us to look back on the sexual offences laws that were structured at the time and how they've been transferred to accommodate a broader understanding of this really victimization and gender. It's not talked about enough, and I think it's important that we dive into this case. So before we do though, let's consider this. How do you think gender perceptions have influenced sexual offences historically? I know it's controversial, but I like those comments in below. Try to answer them as well. But this case was really sad. I think it's historical cases are really hard to prove as well, but I'll try to dive into this. So in the legal framework in the 1970s, the laws under scrutiny stemmed from the 1900 version of the Crimes Act, particularly focused on Section 81, which outlines the offence of indecent assault on male. So a closer look reveals that these laws were primarily designed to criminalize homosexual acts, reflecting on social norms and the prejudice at the time of these legislation. But when it gets complex, does the law apply to female perpetrators? It was very different in 1970. I was not born, but let's look into exploring how this statutory language, historic complexes and context, of course, think how social norms captured in this legal text. Changed a lot, but how does this case challenge our understanding of gender roles within the legal system? It's not really back then charged with anyone on these sort of gender of females, but case and the court's ruling and its implications under the New South Wales Court Criminal Appeal after considerable review and really just understanding concluded that in 1978, these offences did not apply to female perpetrators. The ruling granted in principles of statutory interpretation highlights specifically as to where laws were crafted and the implications of gender biases that were created at the time. What does this mean for justice victims, and how does it reflect our legal system's capacity to adapt to this sort of ever-evolving, changeable society norms? We see massive changes. We see why this is big important, but let's decide and sort of understand the court's decision in making these sort of processes and also the principles of statutory interpretation involved. So how do these legal tools shape the outcomes of cases where one might fall short of delivering such justice? Again, very different in 1970, but the case evolving around sexual offences in laws is less possible to today. The legal landscape for addressing sexual offences had dramatically changed, recognising the victims and perpetrators beyond the binary gender norms. So current laws, such as those encapsulated in Section 66C of the Crimes Act, offer a more inclusive understanding of sexual offences, focusing on the effect, the act and consent rather than the gender norms of those involved. So reflecting on this evolution, how do you think current laws accommodate the diverse experiences of victims and perpetrators? Historical cases, it's very tricky, but how do these areas sort of on our legal system need to grow? Share your comments below. I like to see people's perspective. If people don't understand the law, I really love it because it gives a better understanding as to why this happens. But in this case, it was more than a legal anomaly. It was a mirror reflecting how far we've come and how far we still got into recognizing and reflecting injustice in the past. It challenges us to think about the local and legal roles in diverging and driving social change and protecting all individuals regardless of gender. So as we conclude today's episode, I encourage you to engage with ongoing dialogue about legal reform, social values, and the pursuit of justice. I think it's important. I think it's very underspoken about, but if you like this kind of video, and if you want me to go deeper into these cases, share your comments below and we'll discuss it.